Happy new comic book day, Nicholas.
Woo!
This is something we haven't done in a long time. Holy cow. Now, before we get started, I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh boy.
So not only are you a sneaky, dirty cheat when it came to drafting the Scott Snyder books, but you've also become a sneaky, dirty cheat when it comes to calling dibs on AWA books, which I have had to now go to new measures of calling dibs when I know you are fast asleep, just so you won't fucking steal them from me. But this immaculate grid stuff, I don't trust you as far as I could throw you. You cheat. Sub 100. Get out of here with that. Yeah, but you see, I'm wearing my Cubs hat in honor of today's one. Right?
Yes, yeah. Well, that helps when I have some easy 1% ones. And I mean, hey, if you want to say using my pitching coach is a cheat, then okay, call me a cheat.
Big time cheat. But with that, people don't give a shit. So let's ring in the day after America's birthday, shall we? Properly. I'm not singing happy birthday. Don't get your hopes up.
Please don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages. Geeks Worldwide Radio, the Dork Shared Gooniverse, proudly presents to you the greatest. I mean the greatest. Don't you ever fucking doubt that we are not the greatest podcasting team in the world. He's the Fry Guy, Nick Fryer. I'm the Backcracker, Dr. Joe. Together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. Nicholas, how you doing?
I am doing splendid. I am rested and recharged because we didn't record on our normal day. We're doing it bright and early. We're both morning guys, so this kind of works out pretty well for us.
We are morning guys. I've been up since 6:30. I probably should have gotten my shit together when making the graphic for the day around then. But you know what? I decided no, I'm not going to. But I will
spend time on the Immaculate Grid instead.
That's right. That's right. Trying to make sure your dumbass doesn't beat me, but of course it does because you cheat. Anyways,
yes.
People don't care about the Immaculate Grid.
As you mentioned, it was the holiday, and this week I believe we told everybody in advance we were going to be doing just what's new this week. No mainline episode. Obviously, everybody's busy with the holidays. People like Joe may have the entire week off. Some people will have shortened weeks, whatever. Either way, no mainline, no interviews either this week, but that doesn't mean there aren't things cooking in the background. You never know when they're going to pop up. We don't tell you guys until we've recorded them. So the only way to make sure that you get them and hear them when they come out is you subscribe to one of our audio channels. That's Spotify, Apple, preferably, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, Amazon. For those who are on Stitcher, I just got notified the other day, they're shutting stuff down over there. They're closing their doors. So I don't know. It seems like they're channeling people to a different location. So maybe I'll find out what that is. I'm not sure. But either way, if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, I feel like you're pretty much covered, maybe SoundCloud too. But that's where the only place you're going to find the Fryer Side chats. Make sure you listen there. Subscribe and leave the highest rating review possible. If that's Apple, it's 5 stars. Anything less than that, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backcracker. Joe will find you. That's how this show ended up starting, actually. Joe, let's get to catching up. We got a few books that I know that I wanted to touch on. But what about yourself?
So just a couple books. Ghost Rider 15, fucking excellent as always. You've heard us talk about that for over a year now. That book's been excellent. And same with The Scorched. I can't remember what number it was that came out this week because I forgot to write it down. 19 or 20, something like that.
19.
Again, absolutely excellent. The art continues to kick ass. The story, this might be the best arc yet in the story. I've been enjoying the hell of it. The hell out of it, I should say. It's early in the morning, so my brain's still waking up. But that was it for me. How about you, Nicholas?
We're supposed to be morning people. What the hell? Ghost Rider 15 is, I read that as well. Very good stuff there. Void Rivals, which there was a whole lot of excitement about this, understandably so, because of what it means for Skybound. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I know it's been a couple weeks, but there's some big stuff happening over at Skybound, and Void Rivals is kind of where it all starts. So personally, it's good. But it's the stuff, the excitement. I don't know how much of it's for me necessarily. These new titles that are coming over to Skybound, that's what this is the start of. One of them I may read, one of them I may not, but that's a conversation for another day because those are a couple months down the line. Go read Void Rivals if you're interested in seeing what Robert Kirkman has cooking over there. Also, Queen of Swords, which is a barbaric story. I finally read the first issue of that. So damn good. Michael Morisi he is absolutely crushing it with this universe, this world, whatever you want to call it, because it's all just grounded in this one space. But I'm really enjoying. I really enjoyed the first issue of that, and obviously Barbaric. I've talked about it a ton on this show. And then Sync issue 11. Finally read it from our friend John Lees, and dude, didn't disappoint. It was so good. The vampire Iron Teeth, Jack the Iron Teeth or something like that.
Iron Teeth Jack,
yeah,
I believe.
yeah, it was so damn good. If you haven't read Sync, find a way to get your hands on it. I know it's on Comixology. There's other ways that you can buy it. I don't know if John still has stuff available. I'm sure they have digitals that you could still pick up, but you won't regret it. If you're a horror fan, especially, you will not regret it. Maybe if you have a really hard time with horror, you'll regret it, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And I would also pay attention to, because I know there will be another Sync Kickstarter,
Mm-hmm.
dropping. And you got to imagine that there's going to be any number of tiers that'll include, like I did. I caught up. I bought the one where you get all the trades in physical form, right? So keep your peepers popped for that for sure. But it was excellent.
They could call it the Kickstarter because I could tell that's what you were about to say.
Yes.
It would apply to Sync.
Yeah, if you've read some of Sync, you'd understand.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, too. We got I don't want to call it a re-release from Dork, but it was on their YouTube channel only. We did a special with them a few years ago where we did the top 10 horror comics from between us, Davey, and Keith. Sync was not involved because none of us had read Sync at that point. If we ever do one of those down the line, Sync will absolutely be cracking that top 10 just to give you an understanding of how good that is. But still a good listen to go check out on Dork. But that's all for another day, Joe. Let's get to what's new. A lot of stuff from Marvel, despite the holiday. We did not get review copies from them, so we can't weigh in on any of these. I know there's one book that you would have wanted to talk about, unfortunately.
Yeah, fucking figures. Like the one week where there's a bunch of books from Marvel I want to read and I can't. I gotta go. I gotta go support my chip. So anytime I can, I will support my chip. So this week, new comic book day, first week of July, we have Daredevil issue 13, X-Men issue 24. Now that I'm looking at it, I think those are the only two books I need to buy, so no big deal. Thor annual issue 1. Venom issue 22, Spider-Man issue 10, Fantastic Four issue 9, Star Wars issue 36, Doctor Strange issue 5, Yoda issue 9, X-Men Before the Fall, Sinister Four issue 1, that one I wanted as well. Edge of Spider-Verse issue 4, Extreme Venomverse issue 4, Venom Lethal Protector 2 issue 5, X-Men Deadly Regenesis issue 5, Clobbering Time issue 5, Captain America 750, Captain Marvel Dark Tempest issue 1, and Marvel Zero issue 1.
Yeah, I might end up. I'm definitely gonna be picking up the Fall of Sinister, because we got the Fall of X. That whole event's going on right now. We're just starting with this and the X Gala and everything. So very, very excited for all this. From DC, we have the start of this big event for DC. We have Night Terrors First Blood issue 1, which is the one I want to talk about. Actually, I don't need to go any further. So this is if you're going to read any of the Night Terror stuff to understand largely what's going on, the larger premise, you do get like a summary with each of these issues. But Night Terror's First Blood is what really kicks everything off. And then you get a series of spinoffs. You have Night Terrors, Batman, Poison Ivy, Joker, Ravager, Black Adam. I read Poison Ivy, Ravager, and Black Adam on top of First Blood. I think the Poison Ivy one was good. It made sense. Like these are all nightmares for these characters, so it's not going to be the same necessarily for everybody. So it's not just like straight up horror. But I would say Poison Ivy is like the only one that I like was like perfect. Otherwise, like Ravager's got Dexter Soy's art, so I'm interested in that. So I'm probably going to read the main line, which is going to end up being just Night Terrors, just because I want to check it out at least. But other than that, it's kind of like, And I know you read Batman and First Blood.
Yeah, and I know we had talked about like, oh, we should split these up, tackle it all together. Guess what? You can have them all.
Yeah.
Didn't really do it for me. Like Night Terror's First Blood was a fine introduction, but the art style, I don't know, wasn't my favorite, and the story, like, I don't know, I just wasn't pulled in. I read the Batman one, and I finished it going, oh, Bruce Wayne conflicted with the death of his parents and his past.
Yeah.
Oh, where have I read this before? I don't know. Every other fucking Batman book I've ever read.
Yeah.
So like, I love Joshua Williamson. I love what he's done, at DC. But this event and the scope of it, I don't know, not for me. Why don't what they should have done? Night Terrors, and I don't know, make it a 6-issue, 12-issue Scarecrow story, and have each issue have him dealing with a different character. I don't know. Like you could have done this any number of ways. I don't need 1,000 books going in 1,000 different directions. They're only 1 or 2 issues long. That don't really go anywhere, anyways. I don't. Not for me.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like the steam is out, like it's gone like right away. I'm just like, okay,
No.
whatever. But then outside of Night Terrors, we have Peacemaker Tries Hard issue 3 continues to be awesome. I will be talking about that on the show at some point down the line. Don't need to dig into it more. Steelworks issue 2, and then Joe, you have one book you wanted to touch on.
Yes. So I wanted to talk on the adventures of Superman, the Adventures of John Kent, issue 5. So again, this is written by Tom Taylor. It's sort of I don't want to say a continuation of his, Kal-El, the Son of Superman series, but it is this sense where, he's primarily dealing with John Kent and some of the characters. But this has really been sort of, um, almost it's been a multiverse kind of book in a way where it's not really like a flat out multiverse book, but where John Kent finds himself now is what I love about it is because Tom Taylor is also writing Knights of Steel, where he's taking familiar characters and putting them in different roles, right? And where John Kent has found himself over the past few issues is in a world where Superman and the L's might not necessarily be the good guys, and where you've got sort of the quote unquote terrorists of this world being Batman, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, all starting to work together, and John sort of being in the middle of it. It's been great. There's been great action. There's been great storytelling going on. I mean, it's Taylor, so it's going to be excellent regardless. But I love this. I love seeing characters in roles that we don't typically see them in, and seeing it from all sort of angles, and how it's all playing out. This has been an excellent series. um will I talk about a TLDR? There's a good chance, because I talked about the last
Hmm.
John Kent on here, so this would be sort of like a good sort of follow up for that. But I've been enjoying the hell out of this. I mean, what DC's been doing with Superman in terms of how Williamson's been writing the Superman series and how Taylor's been writing this John Kent series. Um, this is some of the best Superman stuff that I've read in some time.
Nice. Not wow, that's saying a lot. I mean, clearly Tom Taylor's got that character down pat. Then we move over to another book that you have called dibs on. And it's AWA, our friends over there. And this one you didn't have to be all sneaky about, but you did blindside me a little bit, I think, when it came time to call him dibs on Ed Brisson's Sins of the Salton Sea. Issue 2 is out this week.
Yeah, I can't give you a heads up on these things. I thought about even just doing a full blanket AWA dibs, period. But
Mm, I mean, that's just
I
rude.
that is just rude. And remember, I let you have Ribbon Queen with
Mhm.
Garth Ennis.
Dude,
So
every time I see an image of that, I'm like, now I know why Joe gave me this because you wouldn't be able to sleep. That's what it was. You'd be terrified.
But Sins of the Salton Sea, issue 2, written by Ed Brisson with art by CP Smith. And I gotta tell you, man, like the first issue was great because you kind of had this little slow build. You had a crew, like, son of a bitch, I'm in, right? Sort of getting the crew together to kind of do this one last big ass heist, and then the way it ends, they think they're knocking over a truck and stealing, there's going to be a shitload of cash or gold bars or whatever it might be in there, and it turns out it's two people. What the and then it's a fucking bloodbath, trying to recover them and or get them, to safety. So the second issue really sort of revolves around the fallout from that, with some new players get introduced, and it's the the way AWA sort of structures their books is wonderful, because they pick the artists to go sort of with the writers, and CP Smith um, is not quite Mike Diodetto esque in the sense of, like, you've got these, like, these action sequences that feels like they're being
Cinematic.
pulled straight. Yeah, exactly. Pulled straight from a movie, but it still has that sort of feel. Like there's a bit of a sketchiness, or grittiness, I should say, to Diodado's art, and this kind of has some similar vibes to it. But the way the panels are laid out, in this book, in this series, is just great, because that tells a story in and of itself, right? You just kind of bang, 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 and I really enjoyed that. And so we get a little bit more depth to some of these characters. Again, we meet some new players who are fucking vicious, which is another hallmark of AWA books. Their villains you fucking hate them with every ounce of your being, and the baddie in this is no different. And then the way it ends, again, 2 issues now, both end with what the fuck moments. Holy shit. So you've got a great story. You've got it visually, presented in a fantastic way. Everything about it, again, this is just, AWA, you knock them up, you line them down, you read them, you move on to the next. You're going to be as thoroughly enjoyed with that as you are the one, previously. So I can't wait to talk about this book, Nicholas. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. Must be nice. Yeah. Not a book at all that I would have been totally interested in reading as it was coming out. But that's okay.
Well, why don't you get Ed Brisson on the show so you can,
I thought about doing that. We never did. I think I stopped because we were doing this. But you know what? We could do it after the fact, when the head of the trade, maybe.
You got time.
Yes, this is true. But anyways, we move over to Boom, where like AWA, the rule is the doc rule is number 1. You read it. We got Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. We got Fence Redemption issue 2, Mosley issue 5, which is the final issue of Mosley. It's definitely TLDR book.
Yeah, and there was a lot of, at least, if not finales, end of the first arcs this week.
Or starts of stories, which is what we get with Grimm, issue 11, of course, by Stephanie Phillips. And this whole issue is, it's like the ending was good. The ending is what I'm excited about that. And it makes sense for the story and blah, blah, blah. But there's something else that is teased throughout the entirety of the issue. And I'm like, what the fuck is it? What the fuck is it? We're going to see it at the end of the issue, right? What the fuck is it? And then we don't get it. I'm like, God, endings can hook you into coming back for the next issue. And not that we necessarily need that for Grimm because we're really enjoying it. But that whole bit in the middle of the story and fairly early on, it's like, that I need to know what the fuck this is. And we're going to get it hopefully next issue, if not the 13th. Who knows?
Yeah, there's 2 things that really sort of, that pull off that sort of, getting its hooks into you, right? One is what AWA did with Sins of the Salton Sea, and that was just give you this fucking grenade drop, what the fuck moment. But then you also have, stories that do what you just said. Like they tease, they build, and they take you right to the precipice, and then boom, right? So it's not like it was like this major cliffhanger, but it's enough for you to go, I need to know what the hell, who the hell they're talking about. Where are we going from here now? And Grimm just, again, story-wise, continues to be excellent. Visually continues to be excellent. Like, I was so pumped to see this in the folder this week and read it. This was one of the first books I read. Absolutely fucking loved it.
So damn good. If you're not reading Grimm right now, you are missing out. There's not too much for you to catch up, right? We're at issue 11. So I assume the second trade is out. I know the first one is. I own it. But get on it, read Grimm. It's really good stuff. Then we go over Dark Horse, Joe, and you got a couple of books. Actually, all the books that are out from Dark Horse this week, you are reading.
Yeah, so we have Hairball issue 4, which was the finale to this story. And so I'm trying to debate, because 4 issues, it tells a really good story, and it wrapped up really nice, but I'm still on the fence if it's a TLDR book or not. Okay. And that's not to say that it wasn't an excellent book, because it was. But well, I'm trying to just think about enough meat on the bones. And now I absolutely loved how it ended. It went in a direction. It went to a place that I did not see coming. So I'm going to try and keep it a bit vague here. And so if I do decide to talk about it on the show, which there's a good chance I don't spoil anything, but I did enjoy how it ended. I guess my one beef is that maybe I wish it was an issue longer, so that the end didn't seem like it kind of came out of nowhere.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Now, maybe the breadcrumbs were there all along, and I have to go back and read it, so it won't seem like the ending was just like we go from the story being this, and then all of a sudden going, huh, okay.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
still excellent. I enjoyed the ending, but it's like the bet we got like all the backstory, of the cat like crammed into one issue along with all the other stuff, and then how it ended. So like the pacing was off in that regard, just a touch. Like
Mhm.
if you had either sprinkled in some stuff, in prior issues, so it didn't seem like, well, where the hell did that come from, kind of thing, right? Or if you'd given it one more issue to build that up a little bit more, or give a little bit more of the backstory there, then I probably would have been like, oh, absolute no doubter. But 4 issues was still long enough to tell the story. I still thought it wrapped up really well, and I would say there's probably a good chance that this is a TLDR book, but I've got some others that I definitely am gonna hit up first.
Okay, nice. Another book that a couple of, well, actually, we have a couple other books that are
Yeah. Oh, geez.
TLDR
I
worthy
should
books too.
I should just keep going here because I didn't mean to
Sure.
talk about Hairball and I ended up doing it.
Yes, you did.
Uh, Barnstormers, issue 1. So this has been out now from Comixology way back when Scott Tober and that sort of whole project came to be. Of course, we had Scott on to talk about it, and so we've mentioned this before. Like when we did our draft of books, this was, I think, for me this was the last book period drafted, and it came to me.
Hmm.
Because Barnstormers, like, when we've had Scott on, when he was talking about it, but he's also mentioned it before. Like this is definitely a passion project for him, and this sort of this romantic idea he has about a certain period of time, in this country's history, with barnstorming tours, with pilots sort of going across the country and kind of doing aerial shows to kind of help make money, things like that. Um, and so it's like, this, I don't know, out of all the titles he had announced, like this one seemed to be the most out of place. Now he does have Tula Lote as the artist on this, who I've talked about. She is just an absolutely brilliant, her art is gorgeous, museum quality shit, right? Um, it's just so good. I love it. And so I remember reading the first issue, going, okay, yeah, this is kind of going where, and then all of a sudden, bang, right? It takes a turn. And then you read the second issue, and it takes a really dark turn and just gets better and better and better. So, if you've got a chance, go out there, pick up this first issue. If you haven't read it on Comixology, you're gonna love it. It's visually stunning, and the story is gripping. And I can't say enough of how much I love this book. It was excellent.
Are you gonna talk about it on the show? Because I know you've talked about it a ton in general.
Yes, I think I should talk about it on the show, no
I
doubt.
Yeah, okay, all right, awesome. So you'll be doing that.
It's just a matter of when, right? Like,
Yeah,
do I talk about it now that the first issue is already out, or do I wait until it's wrapped up and then talk about it? Like, that's
we've
the
been
thing.
doing it when the first issue hits shelves for Dark Horse. That's when we've been
Okay,
doing it. So
so
yeah, that was so it makes it like no, normally like this week would have been the week, but obviously we got a lot of stuff going on. But that's a
right.
conversation that's something you and I can figure out a little bit later. The people who would rather hear us talk about Survival issue 3, of course, from a friend of the show, Sean Lewis, drawn by Brendan Everett. And I'll tell you what, man, like the ending of this is what stuck with me the most. Like it's the whole, like this whole series has been very violent, very graphic from start to finish, and that doesn't change with issue 8. But what's most like, and there's like a lot of twisted stuff going on, but the end of this issue of Survival issue 3 is definitely the most twisted one of the series, most like twisted thing from this series. Period. Obviously, we don't want to get into the specifics of it, but like that's something that's an image that like Man, that must have been a lot of fun to draw. But I'm looking at it like, Jesus, man, looking at it right now.
Yeah, this has been a very vicious book from the rip, and this was the hands down the most vicious issue we've had so far, because it's just this one's nonstop with the violence and the backstory that we get, the story in general that we get, everything about it. It's excellent. You can tell Sean's having a ton of fun with this one.
Yeah, no question. And then let's see, we got a whole lot of other books before we wrap this up that we just want to touch on. So from IDW, we got Sonic the Hedgehog 62, TMNT, The Armageddon Game issue 8, Star Trek Defiant issue 5, Star Trek DS9, The Dog of War issue 9, My Little Pony issue 14. From Skybound, we got Walking Dead Deluxe issue 66 and I Hate This Place 10, which is the
Yeah.
final issue of that. Very excited to read that one.
Did you like how it wrapped up?
I didn't read it.
Oh Jesus,
Yeah,
Nicholas! I
no,
don't
I
think you
missed
did.
that. There was one that I read all the DC Night Terror books, but I totally like
You
blanked on it.
fucking idiot.
Is it? It's in our review copies. I just you know what? Because you know what it is, Joe? Because I HTP in our review copy, so it just like
Oh yeah.
it always I always lose it. From Titan, we have Doctor Who Doomsday issue 1 in on Geeks Worldwide. It says not Geeks Worldwide. We got the review copy already of Heat Seeker, a Gun Honey story, a Gun Honey series. It says issue 1 on League of Comic Geeks. I think it's already out though, so I don't know. Dynamite, we got Gargoyles issue 7, Maleficent issue 3, Draculina, Blood Simple issue 4, Kong the Great War issue 2. From Comixology, we're supposed to have Book of Evil issue 4. That would be great. Very excited to read the next issue of Book of Evil, and I can't wait for the finale of Canary, of course. Then, Joe, we have Image.
Man, do we ever? So Spawn issue 343, Monstrous issue 45, Phantom Road issue 5, which concludes the first arc. Will be continued, which is great. It looks like so. Looking forward to that. We have Love Everlasting issue 9, Swan Songs issue 1, which I meant to get to, I just didn't get a chance to. Blood Tree issue
That cover,
6.
man. The cover of
Oh,
Swan Song is nuts.
fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Torrent issue 5, Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland issue 1, which is a sort of a cornucopia of stories taking place within that universe. Junk Rabbit issue 4, Weird Work issue 1, which is another one I wanted to get to, I just didn't have a chance to. And then from friend of the show, Alex Packnadell, we have All Against All, the trade paperback. If you haven't read this book, go out today or whenever you're listening to this, because it is out by the time you're listening or watching. Well, if you're watching this, then chances are you got to wait till at least 10 o'clock. But by the time you're listening to this book is in your local comic book shop. The art by Casper Wingard is absolutely tremendous. The story is fucking awesome. Go out, buy it. You won't regret it. You're going to absolutely love it.
Really good story. And yeah, like you said, like the art is just an experience in and of itself. And there's like, again, we've talked about it a ton, but in the first issue, for those who haven't heard us say it, there is a specific image that's going to hook you right in. That's very jarring. And they do a really cool job with that, Alex in the story, bringing how they handle that, not to spoil anything. But anyways, then Joe, we have No One issue 4, and you are completely caught up on this. The podcast I don't think is still out yet. This is the one like non-GSG podcast that we're going to tell you guys, go check this out if you're reading No One. It is so damn good. We get some like the tension in this one was probably the highest of all the issues, which does make sense. We've been kind of setting the table, gathering information. What was one of the things, so there's some stuff that happens with No One that's very cool, really like that. But then the battle that we're seeing take shape between mother and daughter throughout this too is like I've got a little anxiety from this, man. It's like, what the fuck? Like this is family, like, and I understand how important business is, but you guys got to know where to draw the line sometime. But I guess not.
Yeah, that mom stinks.
Yeah,
Absolutely stinks.
the worst.
And it was excellent. What I loved about this particular issue was all the detective work that was going on. Right, I love that. I'm having a blanking on the detective, the retired detective's name there.
Oh, Ben. Yeah. Why can't I think of the father's name? father.
Yeah, but anyways, when he's he's doing his detective work,
Ben
and
Kern.
Ben Kern, thank you, and he's visiting his son in prison, right? And then everything that sort of transpires around that and where the story's going, and then uh, we get a nice action sequence towards the end of this book, man. I'm so glad that again Dibs was ruined so that I could go in and read this and get caught up. The first thing I did last night, because I read the book fairly early in the day, but I went back and I'm on iTunes. Like, is it out yet? Is the podcast out yet? Which I'm assuming it'll drop later today. I think that's
Makes
so
sense.
I can't wait to listen to that. Because that's what Kyle said. You read the book, then listen to the podcast.
He
That's how
lectured you, actually.
he did lecture me, but it wasn't my fucking fault, Nicholas,
No, it
because you
wasn't.
had called dibs.
Yes. But I'll tell you what I'm most excited about for this too is like I have zero clue who is no one. And we've heard that, obviously this is not a spoiler, but Ben's son claims to be Richard Rowe, but this new player who's supposedly a copycat, but saying they're the actual Richard Rowe. I just have no clue what
Yeah.
it is. Like, who is it going to be? And I love that. It's got to be one of the players who we've seen in some capacity, or maybe we'll see them over the next couple issues, but just zero clue who it is. So I just can't wait. And I'm very curious if there are going to be breadcrumbs that we missed, that we can go back and reread it. But no one has been an experience. It's
Yeah.
really, really fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And so that's the thing, is that you're thinking about it, is that it has to be someone that's either been mentioned, or maybe we've been briefly introduced to, because at this point now, any new character that comes in, you're automatically going to think, oh, that's no one, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Or
think
Richard Rowe.
or Richard Rowe, right. So like, just the way the story's been written, the way all the pieces have sort of been laid out, what we get with that's the other thing too, is that there might be some stuff in the podcast that gets dropped that's not necessarily in the book, that might, like, the breadcrumbs might be embedded within the podcast too, because those two things are so great with each other. But I would imagine he wouldn't do that in case people weren't listening to the podcast and just reading the book. But
Right. It enhances the experience, though.
It doesn't have, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I can't wait, because I think that reveal is just going to be like, again, we talk about like having to pick our jaws up off the floor when it happens. Like, that's the way this has been building. Like, we're not going to see it coming, and it's going to be fucking stunning. And it's going to, again, make us go back and want to reread the books again. I've already listened to the first three podcasts twice now. So I guess I can't wait for this one to come out. So this is a comic book experience unlike, I think anything, for those watching and listening have experienced so far, because it really is, especially if you're into the crime stuff, the detective stuff. It's absolutely fantastic, and I highly suggest that you go back, you read or you reread, you listen, you re-listen, you do it all together, because it just makes the story that much better.
Yep. If you are a fan of detective literature, this is definitely stuff for you. If you know someone who likes detective stories, maybe they haven't read comics, give them No One. That would be a great way to get them into comics, or at least just a great story for them to enjoy because they like detective stuff. But that is it for us this week. This week, Joe, keeping it nice and light. Look at that. Super Daddy-O. Yes, good job. So next week we should be back to normal, whatever normal is. I don't know. But again, make sure you subscribe to all the audio channels, because there's certain content you'll only get there, and you never know when it's going to pop up. But either way, Joe, until next week, stay sexy.
You know it, baby.